Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the news from SABA satellite channel, live from Marib. Here are tonight's top stories.
President Al-Alimi calls for stronger European support to defend Yemen's sovereignty.
Cabinet reviews response to escalation, reaffirms state authority.
Rights report documents 163 Houthi abductions of aid and UN workers.
Welcome back. President of the Presidential Leadership Council, Dr. Rashad Al-Alimi, called for stronger European support to help safeguard Yemen's sovereignty and reinforce international efforts to counter the Houthi militia. During talks with a delegation from the European Parliament led by Austrian lawmaker Reinhold Lopatka, the President briefed members on the latest developments, highlighting Iran's repeated violations of Yemen's sovereignty through its continued backing of the Houthi militia and attempts to operate flights outside the authority of the state and internationally recognized legal frameworks. President Al-Alimi praised the European Union's continued political, humanitarian and development support for Yemen, stressing Europe's important role in strengthening peace, stability and regional security, while defending the international order based on respect for state sovereignty. He also outlined the government's measures to respond to Houthi escalation, including efforts to ensure the lawful operation of Sana'a International Airport through arrangements that protect citizens' interests while respecting Yemen's sovereignty and UN Security Council resolutions. The President urged the European Parliament to increase pressure on the Houthi militia to release detained UN and humanitarian workers and reaffirmed the government's commitment to a comprehensive peace that restores states' institutions and protects international shipping.
Meanwhile, in Aden, the cabinet reaffirmed the government's commitment to defending Yemen's sovereignty amid continued Iranian violations and escalating actions by the Houthi militia. Chaired by Prime Minister Sheikh Zindani, the cabinet stressed that the government is responding to recent developments with the responsibility of a sovereign state, prioritizing the protection of national interests, preserving stability, and ensuring that essential public services continue uninterrupted. Ministers also welcomed humanitarian initiatives aimed at easing the suffering of Yemenis, including Jordan's proposal to resume flights between Sana'a and Amman, emphasizing that any such arrangements must fully respect Yemen's sovereignty and the state's exclusive authority over its airspace and airports. The cabinet condemned the Houthi militia for obstructing peace efforts, undermining humanitarian initiatives, and attempting to impose a new reality outside the state's legal authority, warning that continued violations would threaten regional security and international law. The meeting reaffirmed the government's commitment to working with regional and international partners to restore state institutions, protect national sovereignty, and advance a just and lasting peace.
On the international front, Minister of Human Rights Mashed Al-Omar called for stronger international cooperation to address human rights violations and support efforts to achieve a just and lasting peace in Yemen. Addressing the 27th ordinary session of the Independent Permanent Human Rights Commission of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, the minister said Yemen faces serious humanitarian and human rights challenges as a result of the Houthi militia's coup and the widespread abuses committed against civilians. He urged the international community to strengthen support for state institutions and ensure accountability for those responsible for violations, stressing that ending the Houthi coup is essential to advancing peace and stability. The minister also reaffirmed the government's commitment to meeting its national and international human rights obligations by strengthening the rule of law, supporting national institutions, facilitating humanitarian assistance, and improving conditions for the most vulnerable groups, particularly women, children, and internally displaced persons.
Minister of Women's Affairs Dr. Ahd Jassus reaffirmed the minister's commitment to advancing women's empowerment by strengthening cooperation with women's organizations and building long-term institutional partnerships. Speaking during a virtual dialogue organized by the Women's Organizations Network in Marib, the minister said closer coordination between government institutions and civil society is essential to addressing women's priorities and expanding their role in public life. The discussion focused on key issues affecting Yemeni women, including economic and political empowerment, as well as the challenges facing internally displaced women amid the country's humanitarian situation. Dr. Jassus stressed that economic empowerment is central to improving the resilience and livelihoods of women, particularly displaced women and female heads of household.
In human rights news, Yemen Women's Empowerment Foundation documented 163 cases of abduction, arbitrary detention, and enforced disappearance carried out by the Houthi militia since 2014, targeting employees of the United Nations, international and local humanitarian organizations, and diplomatic missions. The report said the victims included UN personnel, aid workers, civil society employees, journalists, foreign nationals, and current and former staff of embassies and diplomatic missions. It stressed that those targeted were carrying out humanitarian and diplomatic duties and were not parties to the conflict. The organization warned that the targeting of humanitarian personnel has disrupted relief operations, reduced the presence of international organizations, and further affected millions of Yemenis who depend on life-saving assistance. The report called on the United Nations, member states, and international human rights bodies to press for the immediate release of all detainees, reveal the fate of those forcibly disappeared, and ensure accountability for the Houthi militia personnel responsible for such acts.
In continued military escalation by the Houthi militia, naval forces on the Red Sea coast have foiled an attempt by the Houthi armed boats to approach Zugar Island, near the international shipping lane. According to the National Resistance military media, naval units detected the boats as they moved toward the island and responded immediately, forcing them to retreat. The Houthi boats withdraw northward toward Al-Fazayriya after coming under fire. The military media described the operation as part of ongoing efforts to secure Yemen's territorial waters and protect navigation along the Red Sea.
Elsewhere on the Western Front, the armed forces repelled a Houthi attempt to advance toward Jabal Dabbas in southern Hodeidah. According to the military media, forces from the 14th Infantry Brigade detected the militia's movements near their positions before engaging the attackers. The report said fierce clashes forced the Houthi fighters to retreat after sustaining direct casualties, with government forces maintaining control of the area. The operation is the latest in a series of confrontations along the Western Front, where the armed forces remain on high alert to counter the Houthi militia or military activity.
Chairman of the Civil Status and Civil Registry Authority, Major General Mohammed Baharoun, met with UNICEF Deputy Representative for Yemen for programs in Yemen, Obeya Etching, to discuss expanding cooperation on civil registration and birth certification. The meeting focused on strengthening the electronic civil registry system and advancing efforts to issue international identification numbers at birth, a measure aimed at ensuring every child has a legal identity and improving access to healthcare, education, social protection, and other essential services. Major General Baharoun highlighted the importance of modernizing civil registration services, while Etching commended the authorities' recent launch of the National ID at Birth initiative, describing it as a major step toward protecting children's rights and expanding their access to essential services.
The Minister of Social Affairs and Labor launched a specialized training program in Marib to strengthen child protection services as part of the National Child Protection Plan for 2026-2029. The 8-day program brings together 32 social workers to train them on the unified standard operating procedures for child protection and referral mechanisms. Deputy Minister for Social Welfare Saleh Mahmoud said the unified procedures will serve as the national reference for child protection professionals, helping ensure consistent professional services in line with international standards. Marib Deputy Governor Abdullah Al-Bakri stressed the importance of strengthening coordination among all partners to improve responses to vulnerable children and provide a safer environment that protects their rights. The program is being implemented in cooperation with Save the Children as part of ongoing efforts to enhance child protection across the liberated governorates.
That's all for tonight. Thank you for watching and have a good time.
Have a good time.